Alright, I'm gonna be real with you. Most guys are operating under a total misunderstanding of how attraction actually works. You think you need to be the one chasing. You send the first text, you plan all the dates, you shower her with attention, hoping you can prove you're the right guy. But have you ever noticed how often that completely backfires? It's crazy. The harder you push, the more you give, the faster she seems to pull away. It's a frustrating loop that leaves good men feeling confused and like they have no value. Meanwhile, you see other dudes who seem to attract women without even trying. And it's not always about looks or money, and it's definitely not about some manipulative game. It's deeper. These guys get a crucial truth. Real, lasting attraction isn't about chasing, it's about being chased. They don't fight for attention, they command it. And this isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. This is about understanding the signals. It's knowing that in the game of attraction, power isn't given to you. You have to claim it. In this video, I'm going to literally pull back the curtain and break down the 6 psychological habits these men use to flip the entire script. These are the habits that make women the ones to pursue you. And trust me, they'll likely never admit why. The first habit, and man, this one is so powerful, is mastering what I call emotional scarcity. Think about it from her perspective for a second. Her phone is a non-stop flood of attention. Good morning texts, compliments, guys asking about her day. It's an endless fire hose of validation from dozens of men. So in an environment where attention is everywhere, what becomes the most valuable thing? Scarcity. What most guys get wrong is they try to be the biggest wave in that flood. They think if they give more attention, more compliments, and more of their emotional energy, they'll stand out. They text back in 2 seconds. They're always free for a last-minute plan, and they put all their feelings out there on day one, hoping she'll reward them for it. But that does the exact opposite. It makes their attention common and predictable, and because of that, it's less valuable. It's just human nature. When something is always available, we take it for granted. Here's the simple psychology behind it. We all place a higher value on things that are rare or hard to get. When you aren't emotionally available 24/7, you subconsciously send a message that your time and attention are limited. Why? Because you have a life. You have goals. You have a purpose that exists completely outside of her. This doesn't make you a jerk. It makes you a man with a mission. This unavailability, whether you mean for it to happen or not, creates a sense of mystery and a challenge. Her brain, which is used to getting constant validation, now has to start working to get yours. She starts wondering what you're up to, who you're with, and why you're not all over her like every other guy. That little bit of space you take up in her head, that's the chase beginning. So what does this look like in real life? Look, this is not about playing games or being cruel. It's about genuinely prioritizing yourself. First, stop replying instantly. Unless it's an actual emergency, give it some time. Go to the gym, finish your work, meet up with your friends. Let your phone be a tool that serves you, not a leash that she holds. Second, be the one to end the conversation sometimes. Whether it's a phone call or just texting saying, "Hey, I've got to run, but it was great talking to you," leaves her wanting more instead of letting the conversation just die out. And third, when you are with her, be 100% present. But don't commit your entire life schedule to her. Keep your own hobbies and your own friends. When you have a full, interesting life, your limited availability isn't a tactic. It's a natural signal of your high value. You become the rare prize in a world full of common things, and that is fundamentally irresistible. Alright, the second habit is learning to use strategic silence. Most guys are absolutely terrified of silence. In a conversation, a pause feels like a failure, a moment of awkwardness that you have to fill immediately. So we ramble, we ask nervous questions, we over-explain everything. We literally talk ourselves right out of attraction. But the man who gets psychology knows that silence isn't empty space. It's a canvas where you can build tension, mystery, and anticipation. Where most guys get it wrong is they treat conversation like a race to fill every single gap. They think the more they talk, the more connection they build. She asks a question, and they give a 5-minute answer. There's a lull, and they panic and throw out a generic question like, "So, what are your hobbies?" This constant talking just screams nervousness and a desperate need for her approval. It leaves zero room for her to wonder about you, to invest in the conversation, or to feel that magnetic pull of what's left unsaid. You become an open book she can read in 5 minutes, and then there's no reason for her to turn the page. The reason this works is insane, and it's twofold. It creates tension and makes her invest. First, a little silence builds suspense. when you pause for just a second before you answer a question, or let the moment hang in the air after she says something, her mind starts racing. What's he thinking? Did I say the wrong thing? What's he gonna say next? She's not just sitting there listening anymore, she's actively trying to figure you out, which makes her way more invested. Second, silence gives her space to contribute. By not rushing to fill every moment, you create a natural vacuum that she feels compelled to fill. This flips the dynamic from you entertaining her to both of you building the conversation. Her effort to re-engage you, that's a form of pursuit. So how do you actually use this without being weird? First, practice the art of the pause. When she asks you a question, especially a personal one, just take a beat. Hold eye contact, maybe a slight smile, and then answer. That 1-second delay makes your words feel more thoughtful and confident. You seem in control. Second, don't be afraid to let a text conversation just end. You don't always need to have the last word. Sometimes letting her send the last message and not replying until later, or even the next day, creates this powerful anticipation for the next time you talk. Third, use it on a date. If she shares something, instead of immediately jumping in with your own story, just nod and hold her gaze. Let her feel the space to say more if she wants. This makes her feel heard, but it also maintains this powerful, confident vibe. You're communicating that you are comfortable in your own skin and you don't need to chatter endlessly to prove you're worth her time. Silence isn't weakness, it's control. And in a world full of noise, the man who masters silence is the one who gets heard. Habit number 3 is one of the most powerful psychological tools out there, giving intermittent validation. This is the difference between being a predictable compliment machine and being a thrilling challenge. Women, especially attractive women, are swimming in constant validation. You're so beautiful, you're amazing, you're perfect. At first it's nice, but it quickly just becomes background noise. The compliment has no value because she hears it all the time. What most guys get wrong is they think the more validation they give, the more she'll like them. They act like a broken slot machine that pays out every single time. They compliment her looks, her outfit, her laugh, all in the first 10 minutes. They like every single photo and reply to every story. This constant river of approval sends one message, and one message only. I'm trying to win you over. It puts her on a pedestal and puts him in the position of a fan. The chase is over before it even starts because he's already given her everything she could possibly want for zero effort. And anything that comes that easy is almost never valued. The psychological reason this is so effective is something called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same principle that makes slot machines in Vegas so addictive. You don't know when the reward is coming, so you keep pulling the lever, full of anticipation. When your validation is unpredictable, it creates an emotional roller coaster of hope and uncertainty that is incredibly powerful. Her brain gets a hit of dopamine not just from your compliment, but from the anticipation of it. Because she can't predict when she'll get your approval, she starts subconsciously working for it. She'll invest more, she'll think about you more, and she'll start chasing that feeling she gets from your validation. So how do you do this without being a manipulative jerk? It's not about being a jerk, it's about making your validation earned and specific. Instead of complimenting her on her looks, something she has zero control over and has heard 1,000 times, wait for a moment where she says something really smart and then say, "That's a really sharp way of looking at it. I like how your mind works." This is massive. It's powerful because it's specific. She earned it, and it's about her substance, not just her surface. Second, mix your validation with playful challenges. Disagree with her, but in a lighthearted way. If she says she has the best taste in music, you can smile and say, "We'll have to see about that. I'm a pretty tough critic." This creates a fun dynamic where she now feels like she has to prove herself to you, which completely flips the script. Finally, most of your time with her should just be fun and neutral. You're not cold, but you're not fawning all over her either. You're just enjoying the moment. Then, when you do drop that rare, specific, earned compliment, it lands with the force of a thunderclap, not a single raindrop in a hurricane. You become the man whose approval she actually craves, not the one she just expects. The fourth habit is to build an aura of calculated mystery. Humans are wired to be curious. We love puzzles, we're drawn to the unknown, and we have this deep need to figure things out. A guy who is a total open book, who tells you his entire life story, his deepest fears, and his biggest dreams on the first date. He kills all of that curiosity immediately. He leaves nothing for her imagination, and so there's no reason for her to think about him after the date is over. Where most guys get this wrong is they mistake oversharing for building a real connection. They try to be vulnerable and authentic by just dumping a massive amount of personal information on her all at once. They talk about their exes, their problems at work, their childhood issues, hoping it will fast-track intimacy. But real intimacy is earned over time. This flood of info is usually overwhelming and just signals that you don't really have social awareness. It removes all the intrigue. She feels like she knows everything. So the journey of discovery, which is a huge part of attraction, is already over. The psychological principle here is wild. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. It basically says our brains are better at remembering unfinished tasks or unresolved stories. When you reveal yourself in layers, you're creating an unfinished puzzle in her mind. Her brain will naturally want to fill in the blanks, which forces her to think about you and wonder about the parts of you she hasn't seen yet. This mental energy she's spending on you is the core of the chase. You're not just a guy she met. You're a story she needs to finish. That mystery suggests you have depth, that there are hidden layers to you, and it makes you seem way more complex and interesting. So, how do you be an open book, but only let her read the first couple of chapters? First, pace yourself. On a first date, share your passions, but don't share your entire life's philosophy. Give her the what, but not always the why. For example, you can mention you spent a year living in Japan, but save the story of why you went and what you learned for a future date. This creates a story loop in her mind that she'll want to close later on. Second, learn to imply things instead of just declaring them. You don't need to say, "I'm really ambitious." It's so much more powerful to just mention a project you're passionate about or a new skill you're trying to learn. Don't tell her you're adventurous. Just casually mention a spontaneous road trip you took. Let her connect the dots herself. The conclusions she comes to will feel like her own discoveries about you, which makes them 100 times more potent. Third, have a life outside of her that she isn't completely a part of. This isn't about being deceptively secretive, it's about having your own world. When she asks what you did over the weekend, "I caught up with some old friends and worked on a personal project I'm excited about," is way more intriguing than giving her a full minute-by-minute breakdown. It signals that you have a rich, fulfilling life that she's only just now getting a peek into. You become a world she wants to explore, not just a pamphlet she can read in one sitting. Okay, habit number 5 is about demonstrating subtle social proof, especially showing that you're pre-selected by other women. Now this one is delicate, but it's an insanely effective principle. Social proof is the idea that we figure out what's correct by seeing what other people think is correct. In attraction, if a guy is desired by other women, he's automatically seen as more desirable. It's a subconscious signal that he's been vetted and approved by others. Where guys get this wrong is they either ignore this completely or they do it in a really clumsy, arrogant way. The clumsy way is bragging about women he's been with or openly flirting with other women right in front of his date to try and make her jealous. Trust me, this almost always backfires. It just makes you look arrogant, insecure, and disrespectful. It's a transparent and low-value move. The other mistake is having a social life that has 0 women in it, which can sometimes signal that you don't understand or get along with half of the population. The psychological reason this works goes back to our primal wiring. Choosing a partner is a high-stakes decision. Pre-selection is a mental shortcut. If other desirable women have already chosen this man, even just as a friend, it signals that he has high-value traits. He's probably confident, socially smart, and not a creep. It triggers a woman's competitive instinct, but in a natural way. She's not competing against another girl. She's competing for a proven asset. This isn't about making her jealous. It's about making you valuable. So how do you show this with class and without being a douche? The most authentic way is to just genuinely have platonic female friends. When you have friends who are women, your comfort and natural, easygoing way with them is just obvious. You don't have to talk about it, it's just who you are. During a conversation, you can use subtle storytelling. For instance, if you're talking about a great new restaurant, you could say, "Yeah, my friend Sarah recommended it. She's got great taste." You're not saying, "I have tons of hot female friends." You are casually and naturally dropping a woman's name in a non-threatening context. That name, Sarah, is all it takes. It plants a tiny seed in her mind that other women are part of your life and they value your company. Another way is your social media if you use it. Photos of you in groups with guys and girls just enjoying life and having fun are a powerful form of passive social proof. It shows you have a vibrant, balanced social circle. This is infinitely more powerful than a feed that's just a bunch of solo gym selfies. The key is it has to feel natural because it is real. The goal isn't to create a fake persona of being a player. It's to show that you're a well-adjusted, high-value man who is liked and respected by everyone, including other women. When she sees that you're already valued by others, her own desire to be a part of your world will grow like crazy. And the final habit, number 6, is the one that ties it all together: practicing emotional leadership. In any interaction between two people, there's an emotional tone. It can be playful, serious, tense, or relaxed. Emotional leadership is the ability to set and guide that tone, to be the calm, centered anchor no matter what emotional storms come up. Women are often more emotionally expressive, and they will test you, sometimes without even knowing it, with shifting moods or drama. They want to know if you're a rock they can depend on, or a leaf that will get blown around by their emotional winds. What most guys get wrong is they become totally reactive. If she's in a bad mood, they get anxious and immediately try to fix it. If she complains about something, they get defensive. If she seems distant, they get needy and start asking, "What's wrong? Are you mad at me?" This behavior immediately hands all the emotional power over to her. He's now following her emotional state instead of leading it. A man who is easily thrown off his center is seen as emotionally weak and unreliable. A woman cannot feel safe with or attracted to a man that she can emotionally push around. The psychological principle here is simple. Women are attracted to emotional strength and stability. A man who can hold his composure and keep a positive vibe, even when she's being negative or testing him, is incredibly attractive. He becomes an emotional rock, a safe harbor for her. His calmness is contagious. This doesn't mean you have to be a robot with no feelings. It means you are in control of your emotions, instead of being controlled by them. This stability signals you can handle pressure, that you're reliable, and that you have the internal strength to lead, not just in a conversation, but in a relationship and in life. This is a core part of that masculine energy women are deeply drawn to. So, how do you actually practice this? First, be the thermostat, not the thermometer. A thermometer just tells you the temperature in the room. A thermostat sets the temperature. If she brings negative or dramatic energy, don't mirror it. Hold on to your own calm, positive frame. If she's complaining about her day, you don't have to solve it for her. You can listen, say, "That sounds frustrating," and then gently lead the conversation back to a positive place. Well, you're away from that now. Let's focus on having a good time. Second, do not get rattled by her tests. If she says something provocative like, "You're probably just like all the other guys," don't get it twisted. The reactive man gets defensive. The emotional leader sees it's a test. He can respond with a calm, playful smirk and say, "I'm way worse," before changing the subject. By not taking the bait, you pass the test and prove your emotional strength. It's massive. Third, lead the interaction towards fun. Be the source of playfulness and humor. Take charge of the vibe of the date. You're not controlling her, but you are guiding the emotional experience. When a man can consistently create a space that feels safe, fun, and exciting, a woman will become addicted to his presence. She'll start seeking out that feeling, and by doing that, she'll be seeking out and chasing him. So there you have it. 6 psychological habits that flip the entire script and turn the chased into the chaser. This isn't about using dark psychology or weird tricks. This is about understanding human nature. And more importantly, it's about building yourself into a man of such high value that a woman's pursuit becomes a natural, inevitable consequence. It starts with emotional scarcity, knowing your attention has real value. It continues with strategic silence, using pauses to build that magnetic tension. Then you add intermittent validation, making your approval a rare reward, not a cheap handout. You cultivate calculated mystery, becoming a story she needs to finish. You demonstrate subtle social proof, showing you're a pre-selected, high-value man, and you tie it all together with emotional leadership, becoming that calm, unshakable rock she feels safe with. These habits aren't a checklist of things to do, they are qualities to become. They all come from a deep core of self-respect, purpose, and real confidence. When you stop looking for validation from the outside world and start building it inside yourself, the dynamic shifts for good. You stop being the guy trying to impress women, and you become the man that women are trying to impress. You don't have to chase because you are the prize. If this video helped you, and you're ready to stop chasing and start attracting, smash that subscribe button. We're building a community of men dedicated to becoming the best version of themselves. Drop a comment below with "I am the prize" to claim this mindset for yourself. And until next time, stay sharp.